Hi, welcome to Around Town. Good to see you today. Recently, I was talking to the publicist over at New Theater, and we were trying to get us a date scheduled for Don Knotts. And I said, you know what I really have always wanted is a Don Knotts for my birthday. Well, today's my birthday, and I have a Don Knotts. And he is here in Kansas City for Harvey. So glad you are here. You didn't know that you were a birthday present, and I didn't even ask you to jump out of a box.
Well, thank you, and happy birthday.
Thank you. You're in Kansas City for Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 50th anniversary for Harvey, so I guess we're all celebrating today.
Yeah, Harvey's getting a lot of attention these days.
I talked with somebody yesterday, an individual that we weren't even talking about theater. He's an attorney and a public defender. And we were talking, and he said, well, I'd been over to New Theater and saw Don Knotts, and it was great. He said that he thought he was beginning to see the rabbit. Is that difficult to respond to something that is not there?
Oh, yeah, you have
do
to
you
use
see it?
Your imagination a little bit.
Do you see Harvey?
Oh, sure. Did you see him?
Well, sure, sure. Did you see him from the very beginning?
No, I had trouble with it at the beginning.
There are so many people that remember you from, well, I told you one of my favorite times of remembering Don, well, I won't say favorite times because I've known Don Knotts for many years through the television and through movies. I guess it was on Sunday nights, a Steve Allen show, and they did the Man on the Street interviews.
Mm-hmm.
There was Louis Nye and Tom Poston and Don Knotts.
Mm-hmm.
And usually you were asked questions, and then you were always asked, are you nervous?
Hmm?
And that kind of became a trademark to a certain degree, didn't it?
Sure did. The whole time. I was on that show for 4 years.
Television in those days was different from television today.
Well, it was really tough because it was all live. There was no tape then, although there was a process called CinemaScope. Excuse me, what do they call it? Do you remember?
No.
It was a recorded film. It wasn't very good quality.
Yeah.
Kinescope. It was a kinescope.
Thank you. We'll get one of these kids to tell us.
Yeah.
They read the history books. We lived it.
Right. But tape, there was no tape. And so all the shows were live. And there was a lot of pressure on you to do everything. You only got one shot at it, you know.
Did you do much in rehearsals before the shows?
Well,
or some of it ad lib?
There was some ad lib. Most of it was rehearsed, but we didn't have a good organized rehearsal schedule. That show was, a lot of it was put together at the last minute.
What launched your career and made you Don Knotts a household word and a person that many of the young people identify with today too? I mean, we're talking about the kids of today. They say, wow, Don Knotts. And of course they know you as Barney Fife.
Well, I think that the Andy Griffith Show probably was the most prominent thing I did. Steve Allen Show was really the first big television exposure I had, although I did part on a soap opera for 2 or 3 years.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was on Search for Tomorrow, just in and out. I did a character there.
Now, they say that is tough because, again, that's the tough TV of today because of memorizing lines and shooting each day. Did they do it like that when you were?
It was tougher then. Today they use teleprompters. We didn't use teleprompters then. What
did you do? Have a lot of signs maybe on your hands letting you know this is my line?
No, we had to memorize it every day.
You did have to memorize.
Oh, yeah.
Whenever we talk about Barney Fife Barney, I don't know how you would describe him as our protector, my law enforcement person, but they allowed you 1 bullet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you still have it?
No, but almost every place I go, somebody gives me a bullet.
Oh, do they?
Yeah, I had a whole truckload of bullets.
You could become a cartridge collector.
Right.
Let's see, on Three's Company, you also were the neighbor, and I can't remember the name.
Landlord.
The landlord.
Yeah, Mr. Furley.
Mr. Furley, that's right. I've got to know who selected your wardrobe. I mean, you're pretty conservative today. Mr. Furley was a little wild in his dress.
He was. That was fun.
You also were in some of the movies, and I've got a whole list of them here of some, and I wanted to know if you have a preference from, I didn't even know about the soap, so I won't ask them for that. But do you have a preference for, say, like the stand-up in performing, say, like with a stage, performing television, performing movies?
Well, I've always enjoyed doing motion pictures. I think you can perfect your work there. We shot the Andy Griffith Show like a motion picture. That was more like doing a movie than it was doing a TV show, because we shot it painstakingly, several takes on each little shot.
Did you shoot it in sequence?
No.
You didn't.
Like a movie, you couldn't really. We'd shoot everything in one set and then shoot everything on the other set and so forth. But I enjoy theater too, because you get an immediate response from the audience. You get feedback and stuff.
You talk about that immediate response from the audience, and we have a piece of videotape that I'm in hopes that will kind of give us an idea of how the audience responds when Don Knotts comes on stage.
Okay.
We see this.
Hey, Constable Harvey? Hello? Oh, you've got the wrong number, but how are you anyway? This is Elwood B. Dowd speaking. What is your name, my dear? Miss Elsie Greenaway. Harvey, it's Miss Elsie Greenaway. How are you today, Miss Greenaway? Oh, that's fine. Oh, yes, my dear. Be happy to join your club. I belong to several clubs now. The University Club, the Country Club, the Pinochle Club, and the Fourth Avenue Firehouse. Spend a good deal of my time there, all over Charlie's. And what's your club, my dear? Oh, Harvey, I got the Ladies' Home Journal, Good Housekeeping, and the Open Room for Boys for 2 years for $6.25. Sounds fine to me. I'll join it. How's it sound to you, Harvey? Harvey says sounds fine to him also. Says he'd like to join too. That's right. 2 subscriptions to mail everything to this address. Well, I hope I have the pleasure of meeting you sometime, my dear. So she'd like to meet me too. When would you like to meet me? Well, why not right now? My sister seems to be having some friends in, and we would consider it an honor if you would come and join us. My sister would be delighted. 343 Temple Drive. Well, I look forward to seeing you in a very few minutes. Goodbye. Harvey, she's good. Harvey? There you are. She's coming right over. Don't you think we better freshen up? Yes, so do I. After you.
The audience this was shot at a matinee a couple of days ago.
Oh, was it?
Yes, and the audience loved you. When you talk about getting that instant gratification, that response back, you certainly did that day, and I'm assuming you're getting that every night.
Yeah, the audiences have been very nice.
Harvey is the story of an imaginary rabbit and the relationship with a a gentleman that sees this rabbit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you see a rabbit?
Well, that's never made too clear.
Well, I had thought that maybe at one time, and I don't know where I got the idea, that maybe it comes back from the movie, and was it Jimmy Stewart that played in the movie?
Yes, it was.
That there was a little imbibing, but I don't know. That's
Well,
not brought out today.
That's supposed to be, he's a fellow who likes to go by the bars, but when it was written originally, I think they had him to be more of a tippler than today. They don't focus on that much.
You know, what amazes me is that this play has survived 50 years.
Oh, yeah.
What makes certain theater pieces, certain plays, have that longevity? And audiences 50 years ago to audiences today all still loved it, even though it's a different world and a different...
That's true. It's kind of remarkable.
Different people, yeah.
Of course, this was a Pulitzer Prize play, you know. And, excuse me, they, right from the beginning, it just captured the imagination of the audiences. I don't know, really, it's hard to put your finger on why.
Have you played in Harvey before?
No, I never had.
Had you ever had the desire to do this? I mean, is this...
I had thought about it quite a while back. I talked to my friend Tom Poston recently, and he had done it. And he said, you're going to be surprised at the audience reaction to this play. It's like sort of magic. Something magical happens.
Periodically, as artists or actors, you have certain goals in life and certain things pieces that you would like to be involved in. Is there anything out there that you would really like to do?
I can't think.
You've done everything.
Yeah, I have. I think I've hit every medium there is. I've done, of course, I did a lot of radio when I first went to New York in the 50s. I did a radio western for about 5 years. So radio and television and movies, and I even played a little vaudeville, and I did some nightclubs, and even played a rodeo or two.
You're kidding.
No, I played a rodeo in St. Joe back in the 50s.
Did you really? What did you do in the rodeo?
Well, the radio show I was with, we did some personal appearances with it, and we were supposed to be cowboys, so they would book us into these rodeos.
Wouldn't I like to see a Western done with Don Knotts and Tim Conway?
Well, that was, that movie was, we did the Apple Dumpling Gang.
That's right. That's right.
For Disney.
Tim Conway was out here one time when he was in Kansas City for an interview. He is one of the most delightful, warm, and funny.
He's very funny. Tim's one of the funniest people in the
And of course,
business.
he's into horses.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and we raise horses, and so we got into a horse conversation. He told a very funny story about deciding he was going to be a jockey one time in some type of a benefit or whatever it was. And Pinkay, the jockey, was also there. And Tim's horse was getting away, and Pinkay was just laughing like crazy because he thought that Tim Conway was being funny. But he said he's just trying to hang on.
Well, you know, we had a scene in the second Apple Dumpling picture we did, and I had not ridden that much, and we had a long riding thing for about 5 hours. We were on horseback. Tim said, "Well, you're going to be pretty sore tomorrow." I thought, oh, what's he know? Next day, I could hardly move.
You have a group of friends, people that enjoy working together, laughing together, that come together in California called, what is it, Yarmy's Army?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about that.
Well, Don Adams' brother, Dick Yarmy, was dying of lung cancer. And we sort of got together and every week or so, and
You were the lunch bunch, huh?
yeah, and we would just meet and talk to him and
But then,
show him a good time. And then when he died, we just continued to meet. Now we meet once a month, and just
is it kind of like, can you top this? I mean, with all of these people that really are enjoying each other and kind of let their hair down, there has to be some pretty funny stuff passing by.
yeah,
I'd love to be a mouse in the corner.
it's a lot of fun. Yeah.
Sometimes people think that those that make us laugh, that maybe it's more difficult for them to laugh, but that's not true, is it?
Oh no, people who work with comedy have the best senses of humor, I guess you'd say, of anybody. They break up easily.
Now, you were born in West Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
As a kid in West Virginia, did you ever, I mean, did you visualize yourself in showbiz?
Oh yeah.
Did you come from a showbiz family?
No, not at all. I came from a farmer family. My father was a farmer, and so was my mother. But they had moved into town about the time I was born because my father had gotten sick. But there were a lot of there was a lot of humor in my family. I don't know where that came from, but everybody loved to laugh, and I had an older brother who was very funny, but they weren't in show business. But I became interested in acting when I was about 5 or 6 years old. My mother used to take me to the movies. I think we probably went to the very first talking pictures made. I remember hearing people say, "Have you been over to see the talkies?"
You know, there were actors in those days that were very good actors, but may not have had the voice developed that after the talkies that came in from the silent movies, they didn't make that transition.
That's right.
Did you? Is this Don Knotts' voice? Did you do voice training and so on?
No, I didn't train.
You just were natural.
Yeah, I started fooling around with stuff like ventriloquism when I was about 13. I wanted to get in show business one way or another. And so I did shows around my hometown all the time I was growing up, in high school and everything.
Was it difficult cracking Hollywood?
Well, I didn't crack Hollywood, really. I went to New York first. After World War II, and I finished college, I went to New York. And that radio show was my very first real job in the business.
Is that what was called the Don Knotts Show? Or that was television?
No, the first thing I got, the first steady job I got was in radio.
But in television there was the Don Knotts Show.
Eventually I did my own variety show, called the Don Knotts Show.
You know, I used to enjoy, because I think probably years ago we saw a lot more of the variety shows. We're not seeing that much anymore on television.
They've gone out. I don't know if they'll ever be back.
Why? Because I enjoyed them, and I think a lot of the public did.
I did too. And it was a good source of income for me. I used to appear on those as a guest. There are no more of them to be seen.
I understand that one of the people that that you admired very much was Jack Benny.
Oh, yeah.
Jack Benny had perfect timing.
He was great. I eventually got to work with him. We did a special for General Foods, because General Foods was sponsoring the Andy Griffith Show, the Dick Van Dyke Show, Joey Bishop Show, the Danny Thomas Show, and Jack Benny. And also Lucille Ball was involved in something there. And they used all of us from those shows on a special. It was really it's a very fond memory of mine. Jack Benny was so much fun to work with.
And an excellent violinist, I understand.
Yeah.
Do you play any musical instruments?
No, afraid not.
But now you did. You were a ventriloquist.
Hmm.
What about doing mimicking? What am I trying to call it?
Impersonations.
Impersonations.
Well, I think when I was a kid I tried that too, but I wasn't very good at it.
Whenever you get into show business, there are people out there today that are interested in theater, any advice for them?
Oh, gee, that's so hard. That's a hard question to answer.
The reason I ask that is that recently, and I know it's been difficult for some of the young people to crack television, and I had an individual here the other day that writes and produces a television show, and they said, do the go for work, do whatever is needed, get your foot in the door,
Hmm.
and go to a large market. Don't try to just, I mean, a lot of times we think start small and do community theater and do local theater. I said, go to the big market.
Well, you
I
almost
don't know if
have
that
to.
sound.
You almost have to. And unfortunately, the large market is so crowded with competition. It's really tough. It's hard to tell people what to do. I didn't know what to do either. I just went to New York.
But you had the drive to do it.
Yeah, oh yeah. Hmm.
Today, if Don Knotts were to sit down and watch television, what programs would you watch? What movies would you go to?
Well, I try to see all the movies. In fact, I do see just about every picture that comes out because I'm a member of the Academy, and they want you to vote, so they send you all these.
You mean we could tell you what we wanted you to vote for, or try to put a bug in your ear?
Well, they just they send you cassettes of
Yeah.
each movie, you know.
Yeah.
And so I see them all, really.
And do you vote then? I mean, do you
Oh, yeah, I
vote for
vote, sure.
those movies? So when we watch the Academy Awards, we know then that you had a hand in voting for
One
certain
little
ones.
hand.
One little hand. But boy, sometimes that one vote makes a difference, though, too.
I suppose.
Are we making good movies today?
Well, we're making some very good movies, some not so good. I think in the last 2 or 3 years, there've been a half dozen pretty great movies made. As always, a bunch of movies aren't so good, or for one reason. I have a real bone to pick with the movie business now. I think the violence they're doing with movies today is something that really needs to be looked into.
Then how would that change? It has to come from the movie makers themselves and wanting to change.
Of course. And they don't seem to want to take responsibility for it, and it really bothers me. I really hate it.
That's happening on television, though, too.
Oh yeah, oh sure.
You think that influences kids today, or the society today?
I think it definitely does. Their big argument is they say, well, we're reflecting the times, but I think they have a lot to do with the times.
As you're saying that, reminds me, back World War II days, they really recruited from the entertainment industry to go out and sell bonds,
Mm-hmm.
to, I'm going to say, boost the morale of the country,
Mm-hmm.
and to sell patriotism.
Mm-hmm.
And evidently, if the entertainment industry has that kind of influence, or had that kind of influence in the 40s, I would think that that premise would still hold good today.
Sure, sure.
So there would be that influence with kids and so on.
Well, a kid sits there today and watches TV, and these shows he's just being battered with these shows, and then in the movies they show them on TV. It's just one huge violent thing after another. It's really I think it's disgusting, really.
Have you seen Forrest Gump?
No.
I haven't either, and I understand that is really an excellent movie, and a lot of people are really
Yeah, I've heard,
speaking very highly of it. But you know,
I will see it.
you will see it.
Yeah.
When do you find time? If you're out on the road doing Harvey, and which will run now through October the 23rd, new theater, good food,
right.
wonderful entertainment. And let me tell you, I've got a ticket price in here somewhere. They can call 913-649-SHOW for information and for reservations, but tickets run from $17.95 to $29.95, which includes the dining, the show package, and parking is available free of charge. That's a pretty reasonable evening out.
I think it's a good deal.
I think it's a good deal too, and
to see this show in New York costs you probably $100 just to get in.
there's been some comment about that in some localities that theaters beginning to price themselves out,
They really
and
are.
yet it's so expensive to produce.
Yeah, it's a big problem now. I don't suddenly salaries got higher and higher and higher, and I don't know. It's just become
I bet you enjoy the salary today's though much better than the salary that you that you earned back when you first started in radio.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, when I first went to New York in 1942, my first little try at New York, and I didn't succeed that time. But my first Broadway, in those days, Broadway shows, the tickets ran $1.10
You're kidding.
in the balcony, up to $4.40, and the best seats were $4.40. 40 cents of that was tax. And the very first show I went to see, I'm trying to think of the name of it now. Anyway, I saw a sign at the box office that said twofers, and I asked them what it was, and they said, well, the show is about to close, so we're giving people, two people can get in on one ticket. And so I said, well, I'm by myself, can I get in on a $1.10 ticket for 55 cents? He said, okay, come on, kid. So I saw my first Broadway show for 55 cents.
The bug is bitten.
Yeah.
And I'm in hopes that the bug bites a lot more people in Kansas City, and my understanding is that the crowds in some of these shows have been sold out.
Yeah, they're selling out.
And there's been very good reviews of Don Knotts. I was trying to think, Dodie Brown is also in this.
Oh, she's wonderful.
And
Dick Solowitz.
And Dick Solowitz, yes. Dick is a neat human being.
Yes.
And Linda Lavish, and I'm trying to think of some of the names
Well,
that are in there, but it's a wonderful cast.
Oh, it's great.
And I don't think that I've seen a review that has been negative to anything about this play.
It's true.
So come on out, enjoy Harvey, and by golly, I've lived long enough to earn a Don Knotts for a birthday. Thank you for coming over and sharing time with me today.
My pleasure.
You've made my day.
Oh, thank you.
You've made my year. Thanks so much, Don Knotts. We'll be seeing you around town. Have a good day. Be good to yourself. Be good to yourself. If you want reservations, give a phone call and take the family or take a very special person. Hey, by the way, that would be an excellent birthday gift, wouldn't it? 913-649-SHOW. New theater, 91st and Foster, and it is Harvey with Don Knotts.
Makes you beautiful to me.